big, isn't it? This is the Philips D8958. It's got to be among the largest boom boxes I've ever seen. It must be nearly 4 feet long, I should think, with the speakers clipped on. But like everything else made by them at this time that played tapes, it suffered from the red Leicester cheese gears problem. And it just so happens that I've already worked out how to get rid of this on some decks only. I can't do all decks, but on these, replacing the 2 cogwheels that do the fast forward and rewind with nylon gears is quite easy to do if you've got the right equipment. The gears I use are nylon gears, such as those found in little kids' toys, racing cars, radio control things, that sort of thing. And they do need to be rebored slightly because the shafts they spin on are slightly bigger than the ones that they come intended for would be. And they need to be sometimes altered in mounting depth using spacers. But the funny thing is that the little spigots that they sit on and spin on have a little groove round there, which rather suggests to me that what they were going to do to begin with was to either fit a little snap-on plastic E-clip or a metal E-clip, but that was not to be. They instead went for those awful plastic red Leicester cheese gears. Now, another thing that they were known for was putting foam in behind the speaker grills, so you couldn't actually see the driver itself. Now, this foam had gone to just powder, really. So as this needed to be patched up a bit anyway and repaired, the metal's very easy to dent unless you're careful. That one over there was dished in. I've taken advantage of the situation while I had it all in pieces, and I've cut out a piece of likely looking material, black, almost transparent weave for the sound to escape, with silver lines on it running horizontally. It's actually, and this will make you laugh, a B&M's placemat. So we've got a B&M here at Bexhill, well, between us and Bexhill, and that was where that material came from. I took one look at it and thought, ooh, never mind placemats, it'd be great for old radios and so on, a speaker cloth. So your likelihood of seeing one of those on the table here is quite low, let me put it that way. It's got the old CDM 100, I think it was called, CD player, and yes, it does work. There's FM stereo, high-speed dubbing, recording light, power light, 4-band radio, FM, medium wave, long wave, short wave. There is your mode switch, radio input, so you can run a little record player with it if you want, tape, and of course CD. It will accept chrome tapes, and there's your high-speed dubbing switch there, and it seems to work rather well in that mode. It's also fitted with the rather odd system of variation that goes anywhere from mono through to stereo to spatial sound, which really does make the speakers sound as if they are further apart than they really are, and they can be detached. So if you were going to use this, you'd have it set up at home, because it uses 45 watts. You can run this on batteries. I think it takes 10 D cells or HP2s, and your chances of a fairly longish battery life at that rating Well, the batteries are going to last for about as long as a gnat's sneezing fit, aren't they? So, no, I don't think so. You've got graphic equalizer there for both channels, rather unusually. There is a balance control below, and there's your master volume, of course. This certainly took a little bit of getting into. They clip together. You unscrew it, yes, but then there are various ingeniously hidden clips, especially on the speakers. And don't be tempted to force it, because if you break it, it won't go back together again properly, and it'll just look like a dog's dinner, and may even rattle annoyingly. Speaking of rattling annoyingly, enough of me going on. Let's press power and see what happens. Try this CD thing first. And it only comes on when you press the buttons, presumably to save batteries. And yes, the next and previous and Q or what have you does work, which is rather nice. Onto this radio setup. There's a very long aerial that is still intact and comes up. See if we can get anything out of the radio down here.
21 years. We're speaking to a mum who met us, and after 55 years, if you happen to, let us know.
The news and the best live sport. This is BBC 5 Live.
President Trump calls off his meeting with the leader of North Korea.
Oh dear, there goes Rocket Man again. Yeah, you're not going to get too much down here by the look of it. Try FM.
What a tune, what a band.
There
Special
we are.
and message to you, Rudy.
FM stereo
Just to
lamp
clarify,
comes on.
The best song ever to barbecue. You can hang on to your tips and your life hacks. We'll do that later on this summer. I'll muddle my way through my own barbecues. It's fun.
South Korea has praised its neighbour, saying it had taken the first meaningful step towards denuclearisation. North Korea has yet to respond to President Trump's decision. The United Nations has appealed for both sides to show nerves of steel in pursuing diplomacy. International investigators have said
I think President of North Korea is serious, to borrow a Benny Hill phrase.
hostilities with North Korea. There's been
And there we are.
There you go. That wasn't enough time, I think.
I don't know what that was. Sounded like my stomach after a curry.
Manchester Crown Court also found him guilty of loosening a gas valve in an effort to prevent an explosion in their home. Guilty of plotting to murder fellow students and teachers at the school.
One of them claimed to be Armenia's new Prime Minister.
Weather.
With iconroofs.com for effective solid, tiled and insulated conservatory roofs.
Could see
Good Lord, what will they come up with next? Load of rubbish. And now on to the two tape decks, which are both servo-controlled affairs. fast forward. Quite happily working again thanks to those gears. Why didn't they do it? Heaven knows. There we are. Rewind. Fast forward. Yes, a bit noisier, but as you hear, it doesn't affect recording or playback operation. So, for want of a little bit more noise from the mechanism, Philips shot themselves in the foot well and truly. And unfortunately, it's not just these. I understand that some Technics equipment does it as well. But anything badged Philips, Pi, or Magnavox, or possibly Sierra and some Grundigs, and I have seen it on some Unitra equipment. Maybe that's where they got the gears from, the old former communist bloc countries, I don't know. They can all do it, and yes, what a shame it is to think of the many examples of these and other such like nice kit which has simply been thrown aside and dumped. This has two new playback and record heads. A new erase head I always fit to equipment like this, made at this time from this maker, for the simple reason that the erase head does a funny thing too. Instead of gooey belts, the erase head goes to a sort of, well, you know how when you're cleaning the car you find a horrible minging toffee stuck under the driver's seat sometimes? Well, the glue that holds the pole piece in position and to actually erase the tape turns into that sort of consistency, or sometimes it just isn't there at all. But thankfully you can put a decent one from something else into it, and that's what I've done. Anyway, hope you like this unusual survivor. So there can't be many left now, especially not with the early CD player, which is rather nice. And as promised, see you soon with some more old junk.